crazy buying stuff. If you look around, I have a lot of stuff. I used to have an antique store, so I got a lot of eclectic stuff that kind of fulfills your dreams without being rich. Everything is used and old.
What about that? What about that draws you? You said you like shopping at Home Depot and.
Oh, not Home Depot. Home Depot
sorry.
means I'm doing a job.
I'm sorry.
Costco.
Costco.
Yeah, I want to save money like anybody else. My glasses are from Costco.
Uh-huh.
I have no problem with being that consumer. It's just that I like to step back and say, how could I photograph Costco? Oh, I need a stepladder about over here, this angle looking down here with all the shopping carts out there.
Uh-huh.
Well, how do you get permission to do that is beyond me. You can't.
I see.
They're going to want you to sign a release form. And then how do you get the people standing in line to sign off that you're not going to make a TV commercial with them in it and make millions of dollars and they didn't get anything or whatever. But I see the things to photograph all the time. They're right there in front of you when you drive down the street, and now I just whip out my cell phone and I have it.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
The other night I took a picture going across town. It's late in the afternoon, coming down a hill. All the traffic for about 2 miles is black and white because the sun's at an angle reflecting off the roofs of the cars. So a color scene now is a black and white scene because of the sun's reflection. So it's easy. Click and keep on driving.
Wow.
I can't click 4 or 5 times because I'm driving, but I can still get a shot off.
And is so Hayward, you like it because it's ordinary? Are you choosing to live here
I originally, after I worked for the newspaper for I think 14 years, and they laid me off and a reporter off, and I had no work. I couldn't get a job. I was overqualified. I had suburbia underneath my belt, and I'd heard that California law is going to change to allow the pub brewery to be legal. And so I went to my CPA and said, how do you get money? I don't know how to get any money. And he just reached in a drawer and pulled out a thing. It's a limited partnership agreement. He said, white out almond farm and put in pub brewery. And I did that, and I raised, finally the total amount was $92,000. And I'd looked at Walnut Creek to do a pub, and I'd looked over here. And over here it was, I think, $1 a square foot. And I couldn't even get a price out of people for Walnut Creek. I would have been hugely successful had I done the same project in Walnut Creek, but I started when I had about $50,000 in the bank. That's not enough to open a brewery.
So it was economically good to choose.
I came here because this is a very funky town. Half the buildings in town are still empty. If you go downtown and look, but now they've opened a movie theater and a bunch of new small businesses. So I go downtown on a Friday night, and the streets are teeming with people. Where for the last 20 years I've been in town, downtown has been dead. Buffalo Bill's was the only cornerstone of the city, period.
Wow.
And now there's Brews and Brats and a couple other places serving draft beers and a bunch of Mexican restaurants and faux restaurants, and we have everything in town. I think Hayward's the 6th most integrated city in America, and I'm in minority, and it's everything you want here: Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese, lots of Mexican restaurants, etc.
Yeah. So did you, when you started out, it was because the rent was low?
Yeah.
And was there other attractive things about being in Hayward, or was there because it seems to me when I was reading there's a cycles of Hayward, renovating the downtown or renovating the business districts. Did you get to take advantage of any of that? Okay.
No.
And
no,
so
nobody came by and said thank you for opening a business. I mean, the city has struggled for years of property tax and Prop 13, and the laws are so stupid out there that there's a building, the Bank of America at the corner of B and Main Street has been. I've been in town for over 20 years, and there's never been a tenant in that building.
Huh.
And there should be a law passed that either you rent the building out within a year or you tear it down. And there's lots of businesses, buildings that are great buildings that haven't gotten torn down. In a way, I'm glad we haven't done the Lafayette and the other kinds of cities out there in America that just tear everything down and build strip malls where you have the Fingernail Palace, the AT&T, the Starbucks, and the other stuff. We have a lot of funky businesses. If you go look, it's the downtown has a lot of interesting businesses. I don't think any of them, and I had an antique store downtown until the internet, after I finished Buffalo Bills and sold it, I had an antique store for about a year, and I hated it. It's like the pickers on TV. I was a picker. That that program is phony. Sorry. People who came into my store were all pieces of work, collecting depression glass or something stupid. So that the internet destroyed the antique stores. I think we had 11 of them at one time, and they all went away. And now 3 of them are back. So and now we've opened a new bookstore downtown, and so the town is now bouncing back. Thank God. And they've rerouted traffic. The new library's going in, and it's going to be fabulous. I go to the post office every day, and watching them construct that is quite amazing. And so the city is coming into slowly but surely coming in to the 20th century. But if you go out, I go out to Dublin all the time. You should see Dublin. It is crazy. Big cranes, all kinds of businesses going in. It's just a hotbed of development that you can't believe. And Pleasanton, my average house in Pleasant is probably $1 million now, and Livermore is probably 800,000. And all those areas are booming in the middle class. One of the myths about suburbia is that everybody commutes to the city. The reality is everybody commutes to other suburbias to work. You know, there's people commuting everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can't make a generalization. All I know is you go out on the freeway today and it is crowded. Period. Where are all these people going? And look at all the big trucks out there. You should be shocked at all the big trucks out there carrying stuff from China for people to buy. And look it out for Christmas. They're predicting $1 trillion will be spent at Christmas on stuff, you know.
Stuff, yeah.
Stuff to make you happy.
But you said you like that stuff.
I like used stuff. I don't buy everything new. I buy some stuff new. I like going to hitting the button, it comes the next day. You know? That works for me.
Yeah.
Prime, but you know, look at those guys. Look what the Twitter and the Facebook and the other quote media companies have done to the society, allowing the fake news to come out of Russia and to me attack democracy at our base root by publishing stories that simply were not true. And there's no repercussions back onto $1 billion corporation. Probably, I bet you go to Facebook and all these 4 people working there. It's all robotic. I'm sure. Maybe there's 100. I mean, but there's not a lot of people working there. It's all programmed with bops or something. But I only like people who give back to our society. You know, and there's some billionaires and millionaires out there that build schools and give back and care. That's my principles as a small farm boy, that we had a community, and I believe in democracy, and I want people to start schools and to educate people and to give scholarships and give other people opportunity. You know, you go to our library right now, and you walk in, and there's a whole maybe 20 or 30 computers. Every single computer is booked. They have a log book. You got to go in, and they have one computer or 2 computers that are just for 15 minutes alone. You have to rotate. And I'm looking around saying, why are all these people using computers? Why don't they just go buy one? Well, I look around, a lot of people are poor. And what's a computer cost? Nothing. You can buy a computer for $100.
Wow.
But maybe they don't know how. No, they can't afford the internet service after that. Where I have a lot of computers. I have 4 or 5. I have 8 employees. I spend a lot of money on communication and websites and educational programs and all that kind of stuff. That's part of what the American Distilling Institute's about.
Oh, great. As far as the development of downtown Hayward, so there's Southland Mall. There's the most recent development.
Depressing.
Depressing, is that what the word you'd use?
For the Southland Mall?
Yeah.
I won't go in there.
Oh, really?
No.
Was there a time that you did want to go in there?
The mall was built 60 years ago. It was one of the first in the Bay Area. It's finished.
Yeah.
You know, you can't. A mall has to go out to Pleasanton and look around. The big mall there is starting to slow down. What's happening is these strip malls. And you come off of Hacienda Drive, and there's all kinds of little restaurants and pizza places and Best Buy and Borders Books, and all the things are spread out. It's not in a big mall. And so the big malls are not making it as well as they used to. That was a cash machine for decades, but the Southland Mall is just simply, quite frankly, tired. The Penny's is closed, the Sears is in trouble. They don't have an anchor. Mervyn's is long gone. They don't have an anchor tenant or a culture there that would attract, well, I'm a white guy, I ain't going there anyhow. You know, I go to Macy's to buy what I need or buy it on the internet, and that's it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, and I'm sure if we went to the Southland today, it'd be packed with people.
Wow.
I'm sure it's packed.
Interesting.
You know, it's Black Friday's coming, and they're already, they opened up sales this weekend if you follow the news.
Oh, right.
But to create that culture, I think culture of a city has to go beyond having a big mall. You know, it has to go on to having sports fields and all kinds of activities that are citywide. You know, we have downtown festivals. 4 times a year, or maybe it's 3 times a year, they close the downtown and have Christmas lights and all that kind of stuff. It makes the city kind of fun.
That's great.
I just go down and go to the pub and have a beer, and I leave. My family's raised. I don't need to hang out on the street and eat cotton candy, and I'm not going to eat that kind of diet of giant sausages. My days of eating that kind of food are done. And I'm not a vegan. I just eat right. But we need more. We need, like here, Castro Valley's next door. We have maybe 2 good Italian restaurants, and that's it. We have a faux soup place. Couple of small Thai restaurants. We don't have a really good Chinese restaurant. In downtown, we don't really have a good Indian restaurant. You know, when you start, you know, that's what makes your downtowns in any city happen, is by having quality restaurants and quality bar restaurants.
Yeah.
And we're still lacking. Castro Valley is a total wasteland on that level. There's not a decent restaurant in Castro Valley. They have a bigger problem that they don't have a city. You know, it's unincorporated. So I tried to go to a festival last night, and whoever the city planners are complete idiots. The traffic was backed up onto 580 because they blocked the traffic off downtown, and so there's no way you could get to downtown to have this little parade of lights. They put some lights on some cars and trucks and drive up and down for the holidays. Sorry, it was a disaster. I turned around and got out of there because it took me 20 minutes to get off the freeway.
My goodness.
And so somebody has to plan ahead of what you're going to do with parking, because everybody's going to come in their car, right?
Right.
And but those kind of things are fun, you know. And all these vintage car shows are always fun. My neighbor has 2 or 3, I would call them rat cars. They're just old beat up cars, and he always displays them. And people love looking at cars and talking about cars, and I go to those things sometimes.
Was there a heyday that you remember of where it was really fun to go downtown? Or you said that the young people now go downtown.
I had Buffalo Bills. I made my own parties.
Yeah,
I mean, we still talk about bringing in the Hare Krishnas to sing and play and serve food. Nobody in my bar would eat the Hare Krishna food, except me. I wanted to try it, and it's so bland. They don't use any spices, but they'd come and play their tambourine. That was the big thing of the year. When Buffalo Bills would have the Hare Krishnas come in.
Yeah.
But the bars downtown have had a struggle in that they're independently owned, and I don't want to badmouth too many of the franchises, but they're not going to come to our downtown because there's no parking. The franchise wants that parking lot to be huge. You know, there's a couple of these ribs places, you know. Who the hell goes there? You drive by there on Sunday night at 9 o'clock and there's 30 cars in the parking lot. Well, people are eating stuff not good for them. They're eating rib, but they parked their car. If you want to be successful downtown, you have to provide parking. And the city did build a pretty good garage, and there is some pretty good parking now, but it's a serious problem on having what happens also on downtown development. And again, I mentioned that bank that's been there for 30, 40 years empty. There's a bunch of other buildings that are empty that I'm sure are used as tax write-offs for people. And if you think you could come in there and open a restaurant for under $1 million, you're crazy, because you have to go through planning, county, state, fire permits, sewage permits, water permits, parking permits, probably 8 to 10 permits to get a business open. And it takes deep pockets, where if you go out to where a shopping mall is, you just make one phone call, and that developer will take care of your plumbing, your water, your electrical, and do all the tenant improvements, and make sure everything is savvy for the city. Where if you're going to go downtown, where somebody's inherited this business from grandma, and their brothers and sisters are fighting over who owns what, and they can't even rent the damn place because the building's in bad repair, needs work, you know.
Right.
It creates a problem for the city, but at least we have a city, like I mentioned, Martinez, that they just bulldozed everything and put in all new shopping. We still have a downtown that's interesting. You know, there's a number of buildings that are historic, with the facades and glazed bricks, and we have a downtown that's not been suburbanized and ruined by developers. But we don't have a Starbucks downtown. We have a Pete.